this video, I explore the meaning of a key word used in the Old Testament to express the biblical notion of goodness and beauty. This is how this word is pronounced in Hebrew.
Tov.
This term in the Bible encompasses a wide range of nuances. Its primary meaning, however, expresses good as opposed to evil, as appears in the book of Genesis. During this presentation, the meaning of the image shown on the right-hand side of this slide will become clear. In particular, in the final part of the video, I will explain the symbolism of this image in detail, and I will argue that it represents very well the meaning of the biblical notion of goodness and beauty. In the Old Testament, the adjective pronounced once again as
Tov
appears 741 times, and its meaning oscillates between good and beautiful, so that goodness and beauty, ethics and aesthetics, are two faces of the same reality. This word encompasses different meanings, so much so that the ancient Greek version of the Bible, known as the Septuagint, used at least 3 different adjectives. In addition to the obvious agathos, good, and kalos, beautiful, it also added krestos, useful, thus introducing a practical aspect. What's certain is that, if you browse through various Hebrew dictionaries, you'll note an array of additional meanings related to this term, such as pleasant, tasty, sweet, gentle, proportionate, but also just, or righteous, honest, benevolent, merciful, and so on. Some emblematic passages can be found in the first page of creation in Genesis 1, where we encounter a formula of divine approval of God's work of creation. God saw that it was good, which in the case of the human creature is transformed into a superlative that is, very good. Thus, the common translation for the first verses of Genesis reads, God saw that it was good, or, in the case of human beings, as we explained, God saw that it was very good. Given that these expressions refer to divine seeing, an even more accurate translation of these passages would be, God saw that it was beautiful, or, in case of human beings, very beautiful. I have commented these biblical passages from Genesis 1 during a seminar that I delivered in a conference entitled Science, Causality, and God: Divine Action in a Scientific Age, organized by the Science and Religion Forum in 2024. Please see link in the description to watch this presentation. In this seminar, I explained that beauty, goodness, and truth are transcendentals and are interchangeable, and they reflect the divine. This means that we can substitute the word good, colored in red in these biblical passages that you can read in the slide, with the word beautiful or with the word true. If you make these substitutions, you will note that the text will still flow because good, beautiful, and true are interchangeable terms, known as transcendentals. I have also discussed the role of the transcendentals in another presentation that I delivered in a conference in Italy, showing that beauty is also a drive for the progress of modern science. You can also watch this seminar with the English subtitles. See link in the description. Therefore, we have an appreciation of the Hebrew word pronounced as
Tov.
That is a word not only with functional or moral implications, for example when we say that something is good, but also a word with aesthetical implications, as it happens when we contemplate a beautiful landscape. In the Bible we can in fact find pages that contemplate the charm and beauty of the created world, as can be discovered in a wonderful hymn from Sirach. In particular, in this biblical book we can read, How beautiful are all his works, delightful to gaze upon and a joy to behold. Or, the beauty of the celestial height and the pure firmament, heaven itself manifests its glory. Or in another instance, the beauty of the heavens and the glory of the stars, a shining ornament in the heights of God. The sacred author of Sirach admires the sun, moon, stars, lightning, hail, winds, thunder, snow, frost, and the sea, and concludes that each work surpasses the other in beauty. This, however, should not obscure the primary meaning of the biblical term that we are analyzing in this video, and therefore an expression of goodness that is opposed to evil, as it still appears at the origin of humanity. Man and woman are placed in the shade of the symbolic tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tempting serpent reiterates the consequences of eating the fruit from this tree, addressing the woman with these words, For God knows that when you eat of it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. The prophet Isaiah's condemnation then resounds loudly. Ah, you who call evil good and good evil. It is this inversion of values that devastates morality even in our day. In conclusion, we can say that the Bible exhorts us to combine the care for beauty with a clear conscience, the splendor of nature with the voice of its creator, for from the greatness and beauty of created things comes a corresponding perception of their creator. Those who are generous and good are blessed, for they share their bread with the poor. Finally, I want to comment on the symbolic meaning of this picture that I put also in the beginning of this presentation. This allegorical painting visually represents the biblical concept of goodness and beauty expressed by the Hebrew word that we have analyzed in this video, once again pronounced as
Tov.
This word, as we have seen, means good or beautiful. Thus it encompasses moral and aesthetic, and sometimes even practical dimensions. On the top left side, you can read good and beautiful, two adjectives which refer to this Hebrew word that we have analyzed. There, you can also see heavenly bodies such as stars, and below you can contemplate a lush nature symbolizing the aesthetic and natural beauty of creation. As shown on the left-hand side of the picture, the Garden of Eden was originally intended to reflect the harmony of creation. This is exemplified by beautiful creatures such as the woman in the field, various animals, flowers, and a butterfly, as well as by various kinds of nourishing food and drink, which represent the fruits of creation destined for the well-being of humanity. In the center of the picture, Adam and Eve are under the tree of knowledge. They represent humanity's origin and the moral responsibility related to the ability to discern between good and evil. The knowledge of good and evil ultimately highlights the moral responsibility given to humanity. The tree at the center represents the dual aspect of knowledge, the potential for good and the danger of evil. The serpent coiled around the tree represents temptation and the possible inversion of values in ethics. This is consonant with the warning of Isaiah 5 verse 20, whose text is shown in the bottom part of the picture. This biblical text in fact reinforces the warning against moral inversion. On the right side of the picture, evil and corruption are depicted as the consequence of human disobedience to the divine command not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For this reason, the colors here are darker, in contrast to the lighter tones on the left side of the picture. On the bottom right side of the picture you can see a skull, a sword, and burning ruins that symbolize death, destruction, and moral decay. There, you can also see a snake and the forbidden fruit which was eaten by Adam and Eve, symbolizing the fall and human sin as the consequence of disobedience to God's commandment in the Garden of Eden. The human figure on the right, working in suffering toil, symbolizes the practical consequences of sin and moral failure. The right side of the image contrasts divine beauty and goodness on the left side of the picture, showing that the true meaning of the Hebrew term that we analyzed in this video recalls the key roles that ethics and aesthetics should play in our life and in our decisions. This attitude encourages contemplation of the beauty within creation, while maintaining ethical behavior in accordance with human obedience to God's commandments within the limits of our human frailty. Ultimately, the Hebrew word that we have analyzed in this video points towards the three transcendentals, namely, goodness, beauty, and truth, as explained in my presentation. Once again, I want to thank Cardinal Ravasi for granting me the permission to use his material, taken from the link from the website of Famiglia Cristiana that I showed in the slides, to create this YouTube video.